Hey everybody, Mike here. So you were thinking about booking a boudoir session as a wedding or maybe an anniversary gift and doing some peeking around online, and let me guess, you were a bit surprised once you saw the pricing and thought, why is boudoir photography so expensive? Well, stick around. Today we're going to take a look and find out exactly why. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I specialize in boudoir photography, and I've been a pro photographer for a long time and have worked with hundreds of women. I'm a bit of an introvert though, however. From time to time, I'll be out and find myself in a social situation where I'll be surrounded by normal, everyday type people chatting it up and having a good old time. I do my best to politely avoid the small talk, but the odds are usually stacked against me. Like one of those little baby turtles that just emerged from the egg and instinctively starts crawling to the sanctuary of the ocean, I typically find myself like scurrying across the party room trying to make my way to a quiet corner. Like that baby turtle, I too run the high risk of getting picked off by another party attendee and would be confronted with the standard party conversation that would begin. So, what do you do? When it comes to talking about boudoir photography, I'm fairly prolific. Between my website and blog posts and Instagram account and everything else that's going on, I produce tons of content over the years. Talking about boudoir is just a thing that comes along with the job. In social situations, however, I become a different me. I'm not much into talking about myself because I don't know, I've always just found it awkward. I tend to be quite reticent when I'm in group situations, and one of those standard questions in this type of situation is that people typically ask about your work. I mean, I'll answer the question that I'm a professional boudoir photographer, and the follow-up is usually going to be something like, oh, that sounds so interesting. What is that like? Which means I have to go further into detail. In some situations, this even starts to lead to questions that even make me a bit more uncomfortable. And it's like, I've always been thinking about doing something like that, and what does something like that cost? This is the point where I know exactly what will come next. Sort of like a distant summer thunderstorm, you see the lightning flash, and then you know the thunder will follow a few seconds later. So I tell them. Although the person questioning me may not outwardly act surprised, I can see it in their eyes. At this point, their curiosity is typically piqued, either one way or the other, and they want to know more. And why is boudoir photography so expensive? And they usually want to know lots of other boudoir stories as well. Boudoir photography is expensive to the average person on the street. Yeah, I get it. I don't see it that way though, and it's perhaps because I'm on the inside and I know the inner workings of how everything comes together and all the time and energy and effort that's involved in a session. To an outsider, they just see and hear dollar signs and think that's a lot of money for clicking a few photos on a camera. Everything else is lost in the fog. That's a completely fair reaction though. A typical person on the street wouldn't know what's involved in producing a boudoir photography session, and why would they? If they're thinking about doing a boudoir session for an anniversary or a wedding gift, women are often a bit surprised at some of the pricing they receive. After all, it's only a couple of digital photos, right? It really doesn't cost anything to press a button on a camera, does it? So why the big price? But here's the thing. The average person might not understand what goes into creating a boudoir session. It's not just about clicking a shutter. There's a whole world behind each photograph, a combination of art and skill, and yes, significant costs. And that's often a revelation to most people, especially those hearing about boudoir photography for the first time. So, today, we're pulling back the curtain. I'm going to share with you not just the how, but the why behind the cost of boudoir photography. Whether you're here at a sheer curiosity or considering a session for yourself, or you just love the art of photography, you're in for an insightful ride. So let's take a look. Let's dive into something not everyone considers when they think about photography: business expenses. It might come as a surprise, but running a boudoir photography studio isn't just about cameras and lights. There's a whole list of standard business expenses that can add up pretty quickly. For starters, if I'm using a studio space or renting a building, which is essential in creating the kind of work I do, you're looking at rent. And let me tell you, I'm in the Northeast, and where I'm based, it's no small chunk of change to rent a spot. But it doesn't even stop there. There can be electric, gas, water, insurance, just to name a few other things. And if I have somebody that's helping me out, like an assistant, that's a payroll expense that's added on that pile. And just like any other business would have, there are associated business costs. These expenses can amount to like thousands of dollars per month. A studio space is a big commitment for any boudoir photographer. The studio provides a reliable workspace, but a studio location expenses will be added on to any boudoir session cost. Now, photographers need to eat just like everybody else. It might sound obvious, but it's worth mentioning. Whether photography is a full-time gig or a side hustle for some, it contributes to the grocery bills for all of us. Some of us juggle other jobs or have partners supporting the household, but at the end of the day, the income from photography plays in a big role in making ends meet. Living expenses can vary from locality to locality across the country, but where I'm from, in the New York metro area, the cost of living isn't exactly low. Making a living off photography here means navigating some steep financial realities, whether it's rent, mortgage, or, those expenses that always pop up at the worst of times. The money from every photo shoot helps cover these everyday expenses. Those are living costs that definitely will factor into your photo shoot. Let's talk about gear for a moment. In photography, especially in boudoir, the camera and lenses are just the beginning. High quality gear is not just a preference, it's a requirement. We're living in a golden age of technology where every year we're sharper, more capable cameras, but these advancements come with a price tag. A professional camera setup can easily run $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and that's even before you start talking about lenses. And the camera is just the start of it. Everything about photography is expensive. I recall, this is going back a couple years, but I recall this client innocently grabbing one of my lenses during a session, and she was looking at it, and somehow it slipped out of her hand, and fortunately it fell forward and landed on this bed. And I remember the poor look on this woman's face. She stopped in horror, and she said something along, that was almost like an expensive mistake, wasn't it? And I was like, yeah, real expensive. And she was like, $200 expensive? And I gave her this side eye and this head shake, and she was like, more? And she was like, 300? And I'm like, keep going. That was almost like a $2,100 expensive mistake. And she gave me this look like I just grew a second head. Yes, folks, photography stuff is real expensive. Then there's the unseen tech, the computers and software and all that stuff. Editing those stunning images that you see at the end, that requires powerful computers and professional editing software, which, yes, can mean subscriptions and updating every couple of years to keep that, because file sizes and software demands are constantly changing. Not to mention storage solutions to keep thousands and thousands and thousands of high resolution photos safe. This gear isn't just for show, it's the infrastructure of what we do and ensuring every shot is picture perfect. Are you starting to get the idea now? But there's more. When you book a boudoir session, you're not just paying for someone to press a button. You're investing in talent. Photography, especially boudoir, is an art form that demands a unique blend of technical skills and creative vision. It's about seeing the potential for beauty in a moment and knowing exactly when to capture it. This talent doesn't come overnight. It's honed through years of practice, countless shoots, and a continuous drive to improve. Consider the countless hours behind the camera, the thousands of photos taken to perfect a style, and dedication to turning moments into lasting memories. That's what you're investing in. Each photograph is more than just an image, it's a piece of art crafted with skill and care. It's the difference between a snapshot taken on a phone and a professional portrait that captures your essence in ways you've never before seen. Then there's the emotional intelligence aspect, understanding how to make somebody comfortable, how to direct poses that are flattering, and how to capture real, unguarded moments that make boudoir photography so powerful. The ability to connect, to bring out your best, and to transform the way you see yourself, that's the talent you're investing in. It's not just about creating beautiful images, it's about creating an experience that empowers and uplifts. Every boudoir session you book is more than just time spent in front of the camera. It's an investment in somebody's time, my time. From the initial consultation to the final touches on your photographs, each step involves careful attention and dedication. It's not just the hours during the shoot, it's the preparation, the post-processing, and everything in between. Consider the pre-shoot preparations, discussing your vision, planning the session, and ensuring every detail is perfect for the session. After the shoot, there's a process of selecting the best shots, editing each photo, and then presenting them to you in a way that tells your story. This process can span several weeks, dedicated solely to making your session a masterpiece. So, when you think about what you're paying for, remember, it's not just the click of a shutter. It's the hours of work you don't see, the expertise and the care invested in every stage to ensure the final product not only meets, but exceeds your expectations. Your session is unique. It's a bespoke experience, and the time the photographer dedicates to it is a big part of what makes it so special. Finally, boudoir photographers are kind of rare. There aren't many of us out there. There aren't too many people focusing their energies on the art of making women feel beautiful via photography. This is part of the reason why boudoir session is more expensive than most other types of photography. As with any type of specialty business, the services of that person come at a premium. Imagine if you wanted to get your boobs bigger to give yourself a boost in confidence. You don't go down the road and walk into an urgent care down the street and ask the PA there to do your implants, do you? You go to a doctor that specializes in that practice, and not just any plastic surgeon either, right? Yours have to look the best. You put in the time to find the best doctor in your area. You talk to your friends, you do some research, you get the idea? Likewise, boudoir photography is a specialty business. Beauty photography is a lot of fun, but in reality, it's very difficult to master. Photographing a boudoir session is a kind of specialty in and of itself. Hopefully, you put in as much time finding a skilled photographer as you do in a plastic surgeon. If so, you will be rewarded with great boudoir pictures. So, there you go. Perhaps that helped answer the question, why is boudoir photography so expensive? When you start to add all those things up, you can see where the costs come from. I hope this was a bit enlightening and you've seen that it's not just a simple click of the camera. There's a lot of expenses behind the shutter that drive the price of your session. Rent, equipment, talent, living expenses, these are all part of the factors that go into the pricing of boudoir photography. So, if you've ever wondered why boudoir photography carries the price tag it does, I hope you now see that it's not just the stunning images that you walk away with. It's about the experience, the expertise, and yes, the magic that goes into creating them. And who knows, maybe next time you find yourself at a party and someone asks, what does boudoir photography involve? You'll have a few stories of your own to share. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you're ever curious to dive deeper into the world of boudoir, or you're ready to book your own session, you know where to find me. Until then, keep celebrating your beauty inside and out. Don't forget to like, share, you know the deal, and subscribe for more behind the scenes looks into the art of boudoir photography, and I will catch you the next time. See you, everybody.